Language Foundations Vocabulary Flashcards, helping you achieve understanding.
Held from above and hanging down. Of a clause, unable to stand alone syntactically as a complete sentence. A subordinate, or dependent, clause functions as a noun or adjective or adverb within a sentence. Being under the power or sovereignty of another or others. A dependent prince. A person who relies on another person for support, especially financial support. Contingent on something else. Addicted to a drug. Relying on or requiring a person or thing for support, supply, or what is needed. Dependent children. Branched lighting fixture, often ornate, hangs from the ceiling. Held from above and hanging down. A pendant bunch of grapes. An adornment that hangs from a piece of jewelry, necklace or earring. Branched lighting fixture, often ornate, hangs from the ceiling. Held from above and hanging down. An adornment that hangs from a piece of jewelry, necklace or earring. Of a clause, unable to stand alone syntactically as a complete sentence. A subordinate, or dependent, clause functions as a noun or adjective or adverb within a sentence. A word that is more specific than a given word. Make subordinate, dependent, or subservient. Our wishes have to be subordinated to that of our ruler. An assistant subject to the authority or control of another. Lower in rank or importance. Rank or order is less important or consider of less value. Art is sometimes subordinated to science in these schools. Subject or submissive to authority or the control of another. A subordinate kingdom. A branch of knowledge. Teachers should be well trained in their subject. Possibly accepting or permitting. The time is fixed by the director and players and therefore subject to much variation. A person who owes allegiance to that nation. A monarch has a duty to his subjects. Being under the power or sovereignty of another or others. Subject peoples. Make subservient, forced to submit or subdue. The subject matter of a conversation or discussion. He didn't want to discuss that subject. Something, a person or object or scene, selected by an artist or photographer for graphic representation. A moving picture of a train is more dramatic than a still picture of the same subject. A person who is subjected to experimental or other observational procedures. Someone who is an object of investigation. The subjects for this investigation were selected randomly. Some situation or event that is thought about. He had been thinking about the subject for several years. Cause to experience or suffer or make liable or vulnerable to. He subjected me to his awful poetry. Grammar. One of the two main constituents of a sentence. The grammatical constituent about which something is predicated. Likely to be affected by something. The bond is subject to taxation. Logic. The first term of a proposition. Make accountable for. He did not want to subject himself to the judgments of his superiors. A person who relies on another person for support, especially financial support. Contingent on something else. Addicted to a drug. Holding appropriate documentation and officially on record as qualified to perform a specified function or practice a specified skill. Contingent on something else. Restricted in meaning, as e.g., man, in, a tall man. Limited or restricted, not absolute. Gave only qualified approval. Meeting the proper standards and requirements and training for an office or position or task. Many qualified applicants for the job. Addicted to a drug. Curved down like an eagle's beak. Addicted to a drug. Having or resembling a hook, especially in the ability to grasp and hold. Addicted to a drug. Held up or having the weight borne especially from below. Supported joints in a railroad track have ties directly under the rail ends. Sustained or maintained by aid, as distinct from physical support. A club entirely supported by membership dues. Imposing or depending on or containing a condition. Conditional acceptance of the terms. Qualified by reservations. Compulsively or physiologically dependent on something habit-forming. She is addicted to chocolate. Mutually dependent. Of plants or persons, having the nature or habits of a parasite or leech, living off another. His indolent leech-like existence. Mutually dependent. Mutually dependent. Living symbiotically with ants. Of plants or persons, having the nature or habits of a parasite or leech, living off another. Blood-sucking blackmailer. Drawing blood from the body of another. A plague of blood-sucking insects. Of plants or persons, having the nature or habits of a parasite or leech, living off another. Relating to or caused by parasites. Relying on another for support. Like a baby, especially in dependence. Babe-like innocence and dependence. Used of organisms, especially of different species, living together but not necessarily in a relation beneficial to each. Not of legal age. Dependent by virtue of youth. Of plants or persons, having the nature or habits of a parasite or leech, living off another. A wealthy class parasitic upon the labor of the masses. Of or pertaining to epenthesis. Relating to or caused by parasites. Parasitic infection. Lacking in or deprived of strength or power. Lying ill and helpless. Unable to function, without help. Unable to manage independently. As helpless as a baby. Hampered and not free, not able to act at will. Held in servitude. A football player who catches, or is supposed to catch, a forward pass. Law. A person, usually appointed by a court of law, who liquidates assets or preserves them for the benefit of affected parties. A person who receives something. Set that receives radio or TV signals. Earphone that converts electrical signals into sounds. The tennis player who receives the serve. A person who receives something. The semantic role of the animate entity that is passively involved in the happening denoted by the verb in the clause. Criminal law. A pleading describing some wrong or offense. He was arrested on a charge of larceny. Move quickly and violently. A quantity of explosive to be set off at one time. This cartridge has a powder charge of 50 grains. The quantity of unbalanced electricity in a body, either positive or negative, and construed as an excess or deficiency of electrons. The battery needed a fresh charge. Cause to be agitated, excited, or roused. The speaker charged up the crowd with his inflammatory remarks. Psychoanalysis. The libidinal energy invested in some idea or person or object. Freud thought of cathexis as a psychic analog of an electrical charge. Demand payment. Will I get charged for this service? Direct into a position for use. He charged his weapon at me. Blame for, make a claim of wrongdoing or misbehavior against. He charged the director with indifference. Request for payment of a debt. They submitted their charges at the end of each month. Cause to be admitted. Of persons to an institution. File a formal charge against. The suspect was charged with murdering his wife. To make a rush at or sudden attack upon, as in battle. Give over to another for care or safekeeping. Provide, a device, with something necessary. Attention and management implying responsibility for safety. A special assignment that is given to a person or group. His charge was deliver a message. Heraldry consisting of a design or image depicted on a shield. A formal statement of a command or injunction to do something. The judge's charge to the jury. Attribute responsibility to. The tragedy was charged to her inexperience. An assertion that someone is guilty of a fault or offense. The newspaper published charges that Jones was guilty of drunken driving. The swift release of a store of effective force. Impose a task upon, assign a responsibility to. He charged her with cleaning up all the files over the weekend. Assign a duty, responsibility or obligation to. She was charged with supervising the creation of a concordance. An impetuous rush toward someone or something. The wrestler's charge carried him past his adversary. A person committed to your care. The teacher led her charges across the street. Cause formation of a net electrical charge in or on. Charge a conductor. Energize a battery by passing a current through it in the direction opposite to discharge. I need to charge my car battery. Enter a certain amount as a charge. He charged me $15. Fill or load to capacity. Charge the wagon with hay. Financial liabilities, such as a tax. The charges against the estate. Instruct, a jury, about the law, its application, and the weighing of evidence. Instruct or command with authority. The teacher charged the children to memorize the poem. Lie down on command, of hunting dogs. Make an accusatory claim. The defense attorney charged that the jurors were biased. Pay with a credit card. Pay with plastic money. Postpone payment by recording a purchase as a debt. Will you pay cash or charge the purchase? Place a heraldic bearing on. Charge all weapons, shields, and banners. Saturate. The room was charged with tension and anxiety. Set or ask for a certain price. How much do you charge for lunch? The price charged for some article or service. The admission charge. A servile or fawning dependent.
Become our student and get access to effective and free educational materials. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to become a part of our growing YouTube community and to learn English effectively.